All right, Florida fans, rejoice. Billy Napier has been fired as of about an hour ago. I started to receive information about 30 minutes before that from an insider, but yeah, Billy Napier is no longer the head football coach of the University of Florida, and I'm sure a lot of people around the country cannot be more excited about the news, especially if you're a Florida fan and have kind of seen the downfall of Florida since he's been head coach. I have a couple thoughts. I want to dig a little bit deeper into his tenureship at Florida and kind of some good and bad things that have come from him being a head coach. First of all, I want to commend 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀, the athletic director of Florida, for sticking with Billy for so long. A lot of coaches don't get this long of a leash, and especially they don't get this long to capitalize on the things that they may have missed out on, or to reevaluate the game plan as a head coach to be successful for the future. And so, yeah, can this lead to bad things happening? Yeah, a lot of people don't want to hear the news, oh, I'm sticking behind Billy, blah, blah, blah. I think there was actually 2 times last year and this year that he had said that he's going to stick behind him as long as possible and that he believes in him. I think that's going to be great for the dynamic of any coach that comes into Florida moving towards the future, because they know that they're going to have a good relationship with at least the front office people like the athletic director and the president of the school to kind of move forward, and that, you know, they're really concerned about not only the image of their school, but they want to be a place where there's a collaborative effort between the AD and the coach together. So I think that's a really good thing, but also the fans, we tend to drive things, right? And we've seen firings happen within a year and a half, and you can kind of see the writing on the wall. In this aspect, you kind of have to be excited as a coach to not only be under somebody's leadership like 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀. So that's, you know, there's good and negatives that can come from that, but I just wanted to commend him because I think a lot of people kind of crap on the idea. And I think Billy extended his leash. To be honest, you know, getting a win over Texas, who I think was ranked number 10 at the time, you know, even though we all know Texas has shown their true colors of not being that great of a school right now, but then also last year when the news came out with 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝘀𝗀, it was towards the end of the year, and they got that win over LSU, who was ranked at the time, Ole Miss, who was ranked at the time, and most importantly, winning the game against Florida State, their in-state rival, which is really, really good from his aspect. Now, look, I'm a Florida State fan, and I love every idea of beating Florida, but, you know, not only winning those 3 games in a row, but then, you know, winning your bowl game against Tulane, you know, kind of put a feather in your cap to extend your leash a little bit longer. For me, I would love to see Billy Napier back at the group of 5 level, the group of 4 level, the group of 6, or however we want to slice it now, but to be back at that level, because I think he can make a team there better, or at least try to exceed their expectations year to year. Schools like Marshall and those type of schools that have some pieces in place. App State is another one, or going back to Louisiana, whoever's got an opening, I think Billy Napier would be able to up their level. And I think actually going to the MAC is kind of a hotbed of not only recruiting out of Ohio, but now he has pipelines in the South that he can go and kind of dig out some of those players that maybe you're not getting offers from the group power 4 schools that are out there. He can bring those guys in and immediately turn the program around. And I think the MAC is a good place for him to be up north. Here's what I'll say. The talent with this last Florida team, not only the exuberant defense that they had that kept them in games, they really didn't get scored on a lot, but having Trey Wilson and Vernell Brown, Jaden Ball, and most importantly, DJ Lagway, who's been disappointed by all factors, right? We thought that this guy was going to be in Heisman contention and be able to elevate Florida, but you kind of wonder how much that was on Billy's shoulders and not anybody else. So we'll see what happens. When you're a coach at Florida, you have to win early, you have to win convincingly, because that's what the history of the Florida Gators have said, that we're going to be a powerhouse, or at least threaten any powerhouse team that goes up against us. Look, the Swamp is not the easiest place to play, so having to play them there automatically gives you an advantage, and it just seemed like those advantages never came with Billy Napier. But he didn't win convincingly, and he didn't win early. He just didn't do that in his tenureship. You can't be known as a talent evaluator, because obviously we can see the talent on this team. You can't be known as a player's coach and also not giving power to coaches that should be calling plays instead of yourself. He's not good at delegating responsibilities, and is very, very clear from a head coaching perspective to his other coaches. He wanted all the power, it seemed like. you can't have it all. A well-oiled machine always has, you know, the cogs in the machine that work independently outside of all the other ones, right? You can't do it all yourself or things start to break down. I think this is one of those things where just things started breaking down slowly but surely. But, you know, I just wanted to kind of put my thoughts on paper, you know, or thoughts on video, and just tell you kind of like how I'm feeling about the firing. Yeah, I think this is a good time. It just is unfortunate that it came after a win against Mississippi State. But if you're going to rip the Band-Aid off, rip it off, especially now that there's been a bunch of firings that happen. I mean, I expect Luke Fickell, if he keeps up what he's doing with Wisconsin, to be fired, and, you know, a couple others. But, you know, see what he does in the future. I hope he doesn't come back to the Power 4. I hope he goes back to the G5 and kind of works his way up. But those are just my thoughts. It's been Dante with East Coast Gridiron, man. Appreciate everybody that's new and old that are checking out the video. And leave your comments down below, most importantly, of how you feel about the situation. All right, guys, talk to you later.